We begin now at the top of Daf Bezam and Aleph in Meseches Nazir. This is Nazir Daf 2a. We will note in Meseches Nazir there is some dispute whether the commentary on the inside of the Gemara is Rashi or is a different Mefarish. We will refer to the commentary as Rashi. We did the same in Meseches Tainus. There is some dispute whether that is Rashi. We refer to it as Rashi. In Meseches Nedarim, where it's universally accepted that it is not Rashi, we refer to it as the Mefarish. In any case, the Mishnah says, Kol kinuye nazirus kinazirus, all substitute languages, when someone declares himself a Nazir, is going to be effective to make the person a Nazir. And the Mishnah explains, Ha'omer aha, if somebody says aha, hareza Nazir, he is a Nazir. Oh, aha noir, let's say he says, I'm going to be beautiful. Nazir, he is also a Nazir in that case. Nazik, naziach, paziach, hareza Nazir. If he uses the term nazik, naziach, paziach, all of those, he is a Nazir. Hareini kazeh, he says, I am like this, or Hareini mesalsel, or I am someone who's going to curl their hair, or Hareini mechalkel, I'm someone that's going to grow my hair, or Harei alay l'shaleach pera, or it's incumbent upon me to grow my hair. All of those cases, Hareza Nazir, the person is a Nazir. Harei alay tziporim, if the person says it is upon me to bring birds, Rabbi Meir Omer Nazir, Rabbi Meir says he's a Nazir, v'chachamim Omer eino Nazir, and the chachamim say he is not a Nazir. And Rashi over here explains, Kol kinuye nazirus kinazirus, Kol ha-mekabel olav nazirus ba'osu loshen, shebadu lehen chachamim, anyone who accepts upon himself nazirus in the language of the chachamim, Harehu Nazir, he is a Nazir, Kemo Mamar Hareini Nazir, for example, let's say the person says, I am a Nazir, ve'elu ein kinuye nazirus. Now the following are the substitute languages for nazirus, nazik, naziach, paziach. If you use any of those terminologies, those are kinuyim. Mishamar, for example, somebody says Hareini Nazik, or Shamar Hareini Naziach, or Paziach, any of those languages, Harehu Nazir, in that case he's a Nazir. Mishum Halin Taimi, Ista Amri, Lashon Shabadul and Chachamim Hain, Ista Amri, Dahani Kinuyin, Lashon Umosein. There's a machlokas exactly why. Some people say these particular words are words that the Chachamim instituted, that they make the person into a Nazir. Some people say that these are words that were used by the non-Jews. In any case, if you use any of these terminologies, the person will become a Nazir. And Rashi continues, Omer aha, if a person says, I will be, Afal Pishalo Hotzi B'Svas of Nazir, even though he didn't say the word Nazir, Hareza Nazir, he will be a Nazir. The Yados Nazirus Kinazirus, because the handles of Nazir are like Nazir, meaning even if you say a partial phrase, that is enough to become a Nazir. Uchashem Sha'oches Adam Bebeis Yad Shel Kli, just like a person can hold the handle of a vessel, Umagbia Es HaKli, and through that he can pick up the entire Kli. Kach says, so too over here, Kevan Damar Aha, Ushamar Aha Noya, Hareza Nazir. If the person just says Aha or Aha Nazir, that is enough to become a Nazir. The reason of the entire Mishnah will be explained in the Gemara. And the Gemara says, Michti let us see, Tana b'Seder Nashim Koi. The Tana of our Mishnah, we're right now in Seder Nashim, in the order that has to do with the laws that have to do with women, with marriage. My time Tani Nazir. So if that's the case, why do we have Meseches Nazir in the Seder Nashim? And the Gemara says, Tana Akra Koi. The Tana over here is following the order of the Psukim. The Pasuk says, V'hayim lo simtza chen be'enav, ki matzah bo ervas davar. The Pasuk talks about a man who's married to a woman, and the woman doesn't find favor in his eyes because of adultery. V'hachi kamar, and what it means to say is as follows. Migaram lo la'aveira yayin. What is the thing that caused this aveira to happen, this adultery to happen? What caused it was wine. The kamar, and it says, Kol haroa sota b'kalkula, that anybody who sees a sota in her disgrace, yazir atzmum and ayayin, should separate himself from wine, should become a Nazir, and that's why Nazir is related to Seder Nashim. And the Gemara continues, Pasach b'kinuyin u'mefarish yados. The Mishnah opens up and it talks about kinuyin, which is substitute languages, but then it explains yados, it explains when you say a partial phrase. And so the Gemara says, Amar Rava says, V'itema kidi, and some say this answer without attribution, Chisure mechzer v'hachi katani. There are words missing in the Mishnah, and the Mishnah should be read as follows. Kol kinuye naziros kinaziros v'yados naziros kinaziros. All substitute languages by naziros are like naziros, and all partial languages by naziros are like naziros. Ve'elu hein yados, and here are examples of yados, of saying part of the phrase, ha'omer aha hareza nazir. If someone says aha, he is a nazir, etc. And the Gemara says, V'lefrusha kinuye beresha, so why not explain kinuyim first if that's the first thing you opened with? And the Gemara answers, Tana me'ahu desalik hahu mefarish beresha. The Tana chooses to take the thing they left off with, and from that the Tana explains that one first. And we have other examples from that from Mishnayos, Kedetnan, as we learned in the Mishnah, Bameh madlikin uvamein madlikin. In Meseches Shabbos it says, with what can you light candles, and with what can you not light? Mefarish ein madlikin beresha. And then when the Mishnah goes into detail, it explains the ein madlikin first. Similarly, B'met Tomnin u'B'met Ein Tomnin, in what can you insulate and what can you not insulate, also Meseches Shabbos, u'Mefarish Ein Tomnin B'Reisha, and they explain Ein Tomnin first. B'met Isha Yotza u'B'met Eino Yotza, with what could a woman go out on Shabbos and what can she not go out on Shabbos, u'Mefarish Lo Seitza Isha B'Reisha, and the Mishnah explains what the woman cannot go out with first. V'Hatanan, but the Gemara says, but we learned in a Mishnah not like that. It says, B'ameh behema yotza, u'v'ameh eino yotza, it says, and with what can an animal go out, and with what can an animal not go out, u'mefarish yotze gomel b'reisha. And then the Mishnah goes on to explain a camel can go out, and that's the first one that's addressed, so we're not addressing the one that we left off from, we're addressing the first one of the Mishnah. And similarly, the Mishnah in Baba Basra, yesh nochlin u'manchilin, there are those who inherit and bequeath, nochlin v'lo manchilin, manchilin v'lo nochlin, lo nochlin v'lo manchilin. There are those who inherit and don't bequeath, they bequeath and they don't inherit and they don't bequeath. U'mefarish elu nochlin u'manchilin b'reish. And then the Mishnah goes into detail about nochlin u'manchilin, which was the first thing in the Mishnah. That's the first thing that's addressed in detail. And the Gemara answers, elo liolam tani hachi v'tani hachi. Rather, you have Mishnayos that do it this way, and you have Mishnayos that do it that way. In other words, some Mishnayos will explain what they left off with first, and some Mishnayos will explain what they began with first. And the rationale is as follows: Elohasam di surah de nafshehu mefarish surah de nafshe bereisha gave behemo di surah aidi behemahu doasi mefarish atayra bereisha. By isurim that have to do with the person himself, with the individual, so there we explain the prohibition first. But by the animal, for example, like bameh behemo yotza, where the isur comes from what the animal is doing, so there we explain what is permitted first, and we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Beis Amud Beis.